The Now Habit, Language Acquisition as a Long-Term Project, written by Khatzumoto, posted in December of 2008. Throughout the time this blook has been running, there has been plenty of what might be called personal development-y or motivation-y content, and there's good reason for that. People are failing to learn languages for two basic reasons. For one thing, their methods suck, but even more fundamentally, their entire state of mind, confidence or lack thereof, and ability to manage themselves through a project of any considerable size and length is literally zero. That's what you get when you put people through years of sit down, shut up, and do as you're told. You get people who only know how to be managed and to be led. You get sheep. When I was in college, I used to try to save money by borrowing books from the library or reading about books online. Looking back, this was not an entirely flawed strategy. Plenty of books need not be bought. They can be picked for information once and never looked back at again. But some books are so important, so valuable, and so ripe for rereading that they do need to be bought, and owned, and held, and loved, and read. Do you like how this is an afterthought? And highlighted the heck out of. This is one such book. It is that good and it's that important. A lot of books in the self-improvement or personal development field are full of crap or otherwise not worth your time. This is not that kind of book. This book owns, and if you read it, mark it, reread it some weeks later, and while reading, really start to apply the lessons it contains, I am sure you will find more success in both language acquisition projects and in life generally. The book is The Now Habit, or Senryaku的グズ克服術 Now Habit by Neil Fiore. I'm going to sound super mean here, but with notable exceptions like AJATT readers, far too many military people I have come across have been intellectually slow jerks prone to violence. Please do not threaten to send cruise missiles over to my house. You're not smart enough. I'm just telling you my experience with military meatheads. Thought it was just an army problem, but even my beloved Air Force seems to be rushing to meet its quota of schmucks. 10 solid years of brainwashing from Stargate SG-1 cannot erase this fact. And then there's that annoying fact that kind of gets left out of polite conversation. The fact of military organizations basically existing to perform and/or enable the A. burning, B. stabbing, or C. torture of human beings, all, we are told, for the safety of certain abstract nouns. Plus, there are cool badges. And fortunately, the human beings getting ABC'd are typically brown people, so it's all good past the salt. Badges, mother badger. That just sounds like a female badger. Why do I get caught up in flame wars that are never going to happen? Oh yeah, this Neil Fiore guy is ex-military. And why that matters is because you just don't get books this perceptive, gentle, and useful from actual human beings, let alone military personnel. I feel like something deeply dehumanizing was just said. Anyway, think about it. AJATT is useful and perceptive, but it certainly isn't gentle with all its misogyny and anti-Semitism and constant scatological references. Pooh. Most personal development books written by women are gentle, but useless in terms of application and too muddled to contain any real perception. Most PD books by men, meanwhile, just suck all around. So this Now book is a little miracle. This book has the minerals. How does it work? First, Fiore firmly locates the causes of procrastination. Yeah, the P word. The AIDS, cancer, and pins and needles of people trying to get things done. For most of us, the root cause comes down to unworkably high standards gradually inculcated during childhood, often by well-meaning parents who themselves suck at self-management. Anyone who's experienced or observed many self-consciously high-achieving families knows what I'm talking about. The parents who, when their kids get 10 A's and 1 A-, rather than congratulating the kid, instead ask, "Why did you get an A-? This is unacceptable. What the flock, kid?" This can turn the kid into a failure-phobic perfectionist. The kid then, unconsciously, uses procrastination as a defense mechanism, starting work late because then at least lack of time can excuse what otherwise would have been a perfect project by her internalized standards. My family always wanted the best for me. I grew up comfortably and well off, but, cue violin, my childhood was a lot like this. Nothing was ever good enough. No matter how well I did, the question always remained, "But Khatzumoto, why didn't you X?" This is the part of the movie where Robin Williams tells me it wasn't my fault and I cry. Smiley face. Haha, it wasn't that bad. I'm just super glad to be able to realize it and change it now. The point is, 1. Standards that are too high make it impossible to get any work done outside of an emergency. So one of the major reasons otherwise smart people procrastinate is to force an emergency, and therefore a lowering of standards. And 2. Fear of failure is not the same as desire for success. The latter will get you places, the former will get you on medication. But if Fiore stopped there, he'd just be like every other psychologist. Someone paid large sums of money to blame everything on our parents. Fiore goes beyond that and details his simple-looking treatment for the disease. He teaches you to make sensible standards, make fun the center of your life, getting rid of the lockdown or martyr syndrome through what he calls unscheduling, a schedule that focuses on requiring yourself to play. And ask yourself constructive questions. When can I start? Where can I start? What can I do right now? All part of a full complement of techniques based on behavioral psychology, i.e. Burris Frederick Skinner. That's right, kids. The very same techniques that the man uses to manipulate you can be used for good, so you can manipulate yourself. Fiore's techniques are actually rooted in his experience getting a PhD in psychology after his time in the military. In this sense, they're actually better than most of the man's tricks, because not everything the man does constitutes effective management. In fact, a lot of people's problems getting things done comes from internalizing bad management tools. In a word, coercion. As a PhD student, Fiore noticed kids around him with no lives, apparently spending all their time on their dissertations, always stressed out, for years at a time, by not getting jack done. He basically resolved to use the psychology knowledge he was acquiring on himself, what a concept, to get his psychology done in a really short time while actually having a life. Which is all well and good, but I know that doesn't get across how cool this book is. It's a book that sounds dry in description, but is superb in effect. When Fiore is explaining the situation, it's as if he knows you personally. That's how perfectly he has understood the problem at hand. This man knows what's up and he knows how to deal with it. So, please don't take my word for it. Really don't. My explanation of it sucks. You just need to read the real thing in its full original context. Primary source, baby. Read or listen to the book, and when you're done, read it again. In fact, if you can, get the audiobook rather than the straight text. Why? Because 1, you're much more likely to repeat it, and 2, it leaves your hands free so you can get implementing right away as you listen. After all, the theory in the book is tight, but it's meaningless unless you start applying it. And if you're going to apply, the best time is right there and then. Right now. Go on, you'll thank me later. This is easily one of the best books in its field, as well as the least promoted. I thought there was no Japanese version, but it turns out that a Janslation, Japanese translation, of this book finally came out only a few months ago, April of 2008. I was so struck by its quality and relevance to the very thing at hand in AJATT, a long, self-directed project, that I felt it deserved a plug here and even a titillating photo of me. Think of it as an extension of the mental tools category. Before finding out about the existence of the Janslation, I would listen to the English audiobook while reading something in Japanese, just to keep up the old immersion. Hey, I come correct. Anyway, that's all from the manly desk of Khatzumoto. Tell your mom hi. P.S. I hadn't realized it while writing this, but Victoria the Cunning Linguist actually mentioned this book way back in the day. Thanks, Victoria.